Hi there, I'm very pleased that you're here to watch this short presentation of our Mindfulness Matters meditation program, teaching or training to teach to become a mindfulness trainer for children. I'm Marianne. I'm one of AMT's trainers, and I'm gonna take you through our methods and our training to give you a better idea of what to expect. First, I'm going to talk to you about the method. Then I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about our training. I'll tell you how you can register, and then we'll finish, if you're interested, with a short frog meditation as we teach them or as we do them with the children that we train. First of all, obviously, when we're talking about a mindfulness matters training, it's important to have an idea about what mindfulness is. Hopefully, you're here with already some awareness, but in case you're not, mindfulness is simply really the practice of bringing a kind, non-judgmental attention to the present moment, to every single moment that we are living. We're bringing attention to that moment, to what we are or might be thinking in that moment, what we're feeling, our emotions, and our bodily sensations. So it's really, simply put, being fully present to whatever is arising moment to moment. And the explanation is quite simple. Maybe in reality, staying with that present moment is not so easy. Staying with that attention is something that we can develop by practicing again and again and again. And as you can see with the image, it's about that idea that waves in the ocean come and go. We don't have any influence over those waves. And what we can do, though, is to try and kind of serve those waves, to be what with whatever might happen in our lives without trying to change necessarily that which we cannot change, without trying to stop the waves. We can't stop the waves, they'll be there. It's just being with them with this open, kind, and non judgmental attitudes. And that is what we are trying to bring to the children that are in our programs. Um, and this method, the Mindfulness Matters method, was created by Eline Snell in 2008. So quite some years ago, and she developed it after years of pilot trainings in schools. It's based on the MBSR, the Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Program, and it's therefore also grounded in research. There's the training that we're talking about today is for children between 4 and 12. So there's a program for children from 4 to 8 and then from 8 to 12. It's an 8-week method, just like the MBSR, and it's very widespread. The books that Elina wrote initially, Sitting Still Like a Frog, have been translated into many languages and are published in many countries. So the methods itself. So as I mentioned, 8 weeks. So you'll be developing or being with the children for 8 weeks, and there are 8 themes therefore. And you'll see that these themes are very largely based on the MBSR themes. So we start with the concrete observing, paying attention, and observing the breath, feeling the breath in the body. Then in the second week, we move on to paying more attention to the body itself, the sensations that we can experience in our bodies. So again, something quite concrete. The breath, we can feel it, the body, we can feel it. And then in week 3, we continue with the 5 senses. So tasting, seeing, hearing, smelling, and feeling. I hope I have them all there. And again, something quite concrete, right? I can smell. It's physical. I can taste something. I can feel the air on my skin, for example. So those are the first 3 weeks, or the themes of the first 3 weeks. And then we continue with something that becomes a little bit more abstract. Patience, trust, and letting go. Patience is difficult to feel, to touch. Trust and letting go, it's the same thing. So after those 3 weeks of the concrete, we move into themes that are a little bit more abstract for the children. And then we're developing that and addressing emotions. So the idea that we can feel our emotions, and also the idea that we can allow our emotions to be. There are no right or wrong emotions. They are simply there, and we can deal with them in different ways. Then it's about getting to know and working with thoughts. And here there's a slight difference in that for the younger children, we don't work that separately with thoughts. So there's a slight difference here, and there's two lessons on emotions. But getting to know and working with our thoughts, that kind of machine that is constantly producing ideas and also worries and judgments. And what do we do with all of that? Then we continue with being kind is fun, which also for adults is something so precious to remind ourselves of. It's fun being kind. And then we finish with the secret of happiness. So you can see here there's a very clear progression from the concrete to the more abstract and the more kind of maybe more difficult concepts in mindfulness. And then, of course, there's the question, because there are other methods out there, what makes the Mindfulness Matters method so successful? It's a very structured method, as you can see here also with this. Themes. They come with very well designed manuals that you can work from. And there's, as I mentioned, a very clear progression from the more concrete to the more abstract concepts. And there's a very strong framework around this method. And of course, when we're talking about mindfulness, it can feel maybe a bit, or can feel serious or heavy, but the method is also so successful because it brings all of this to the children in a very light and playful way. There are stories in each session, there is movement, there are activities, and there's room for the children to exchange and share their experiences. And all of that is done very light, in a very light-hearted way. So it's not so much as teaching mindfulness as the children playfully discovering what it is. And at the same time, as I mentioned, it's playful, but at the same time, it's profound. They're getting these concepts that are so important to live with resilience, being open and non-judgmental and kind. And then it is also such a valuable, such a successful method because it's really child-centered. So the child is really at the heart of this method. We listen to the children, they share their experiences, and it's really about what do they do moment to moment with what we give them. So it's not about them having to do something well, having to be a good student in the sessions that we do with them, but really for them to experience what it is to be in the moment, to experience what it is to be aware of their emotions. To experience what it's like, kind of being aware that you're angry and what do we do with that. So it's really focused on the child. They're giving a voice, and to some extent, they're developing their autonomy in the sense that what they learn or what they experience in the classroom or in a private practice setting, they can take it outside that space and bring it into their daily lives, share it even with their parents, their siblings, and friends. And then lastly, it's also a practical method. It's combining the previous elements, but it's really for the children to experience. It's not something theoretical. They're really doing it. They're being. They're being. I like that idea. And then obviously we talked about a research-based method based on the MBSR, for which there is a lot of research, and little by little there's more and more research also coming out for mindfulness and children. And some of the effects, and of course I have to emphasize some of the effects, and it's not the same for every child, it's not the same for every situation, but some of the effects can be that children can concentrate better, that they show less impulsive behavior because they are aware of what is happening, and instead of reacting, they can learn to respond. There could be more calmness and relaxation in a child, taking that moment to connect to the breath and feel that calmness maybe yeah, developing inside. It can improve sleep, and also, you know, we see one of the lesson titles, Being Kind is Fun. It can develop that kindness, and with that, I'm not sure which way around it is, but the confidence that is also created in knowing that they're okay and they don't have to be anybody different. That kind of still and calm confidence can also have an influence on being more kind. If you have confidence, maybe it's easier being kind, and then it can have an impact on anxiety and feelings of sadness. And if you want more information about research, you can find a dedicated section on the website as well. And then, oh, there we go. Some little technical problem. So we talked about the method, the themes, the research around mindfulness, and then there is, of course, when you are doing the training with us, what will you learn? And obviously, you know, first thing to say is, well, you learn what's this method here. This is the manual, the second manual, and I also have here the first manual. You learn what is in those sessions, the structure of the sessions, more detail about the themes of each session, and also a little bit of the background between why do we use the frog sitting still like a frog? Where does that idea come from, and how is it weaved through every session in the method? And then obviously there is also teaching skills, bringing this to children. How do you do that really? So it's about you're working with children. How do I bring inquiry? So kind of asking questions about the children's experiences. How do I do that really? And how do I deal with group dynamics? Whether you're in a classroom with like 23 to 30 children, or whether you're bringing the method to a private practice, if you are a psychologist, for example, or a speech therapist. And then there is also your presence as a trainer, which is really at the heart of the program. How are you with those children? How do you live the program rather than just simply teach the program? And how do you develop, for example, your empathic listening skills? And how do you bring mindful attitudes to the children when, for example, there are difficulties with behavior, there are challenging behaviors that the children might be showing? And how do you stay with all of that when something goes wrong, for example? How do you stay embodied and present so that the children learn by seeing you deliver or be the program? And then, of course, we also talk about your personal mindfulness practice, because we teach from our experience. It is so important that we keep developing, or what kind of nurturing, I should say, our own meditation practice. And how can I be, when I have in mind that I'm bringing this method, how can I do it in a joyful and kind of playful way? So that's kind of what you will be learning when you join our training. And then we talk about what's included. So the online training that I'm talking about today consists of 6 online sessions. They are 2 hours with a 1 hour break, and then 2 further hours. And that 1 hour break in the middle is to be able to continue being fully present and participate actively during the training. You'll get these 2 handbooks. Then there is also, we'll set up peer groups for you to practice after the training is finished, so that you really practice as much as you can with the sessions that are in the manuals before you actually go out and teach or deliver the program to the children. It also includes the training a supervision session. And if you do the online training in English, it will be with me. If you're watching this and you're not necessarily interested in the English online training, in the other trainings there's also a supervision session, and it might be with another trainer. And that's a 1 hour supervision session in which we really explore how your personal practice is supporting you when you're delivering the program. There is ongoing trainer support. So if you do this online training, it's 6 days, and then you go out there and deliver the program. But all through that, I'll be there kind of online to help you with everything that you might be encountering that is challenging, for example, or questions that you might have. There's an online community, and the last two kind of go hand in hand with resources and audios to support you in this adventure or journey of becoming a mindfulness trainer for children. And the training, who is it really for? I already mentioned teachers in the classroom. So there's obviously teachers who can bring this method to their classroom, a very powerful way of delivering the program because you're with these children, so many hours a day. But it's also for people who work with children in another capacity, such as psychologists, speech therapists. We've had also nurses, and I'm thinking about my previous group. We had a physiotherapist who only works with children. We've had GPs. So anybody really who is working with children. And then there are also people who have just the intention of wanting to bring this, those who are, for example, already mindfulness trainers for adults who want to broaden their reach and also include children, but also people who just really want to change what they're doing in life and they really want to work with children. The requirement is that you've completed or are in the middle of following an MBSR, a mindfulness-based stress reduction program, because as I mentioned, the method is based on those 8 weeks. So if you do not have that experience, it is more difficult to really embody the training. And after you've done that MBSR, the idea is that you continue, obviously, your mindfulness practice. As I've mentioned before as well, you really teach from your own experience. So talking to a child about what is it like sitting with a difficult emotion like strong anger, when you've not experienced sitting with a strong emotion like anger, the training wouldn't be coherent. And on top of that, children are very perceptive and kind of know when we are maybe not sincere or not authentic in our teaching. And the last thing I added, or we added also here, is being open to reflection, because it's very much about your own journey into becoming a mindfulness trainer. What is it like for me? And can I bring this training into my practice? And am I ready and open to reflect on my own experiences here? And then there is your commitment. There are 6 sessions, and ideally you are there, obviously, 6 out of 6 sessions. But if that's not possible, we expect you to be there at least for 5. Also, and that's not always easy online, but the idea is really that you participate actively. The training is really centered around, like the program for the children, about your participation, your contributions, and really experiencing the training. So it's not a passive taking in of information, it's really a kind of a doing training in that sense. There is also home learning between sessions, for example, preparing a session in one of the manuals to maybe partially teach. There is, depending on your background, reading material. Yeah, so if you've not had that much experience working with children, there'll be certain books that you can read. If you have very little mindfulness experience, there's other books to read. So depending on your background, there'll be reading too. And then after the training, you'll go and deliver and facilitate your own pilot program. And on that program, you will write a reflective report. So the report is really not an academic piece of writing. It is really about your journey into becoming a mindfulness trainer. And for those of you who've maybe already mindfulness trainers for adults, yeah, you will know how important that reflection is of how am I developing day by day, session by session? What do I do with the difficulties that I encounter? Maybe the insecurity that I might experience being in front of the children. So, really, a reflective report that you'll be writing. And obviously, you'll get support for that in your supervision also. And we talk about it during the training. And then your pilot training. So you'll organize that yourself with a minimum of 4 children. And they should not be your own because experience has taught us that. Even if we have the best intentions, and I have 2 children myself, and I know what it's like, it's not that straightforward, bringing something like that to our children. Maybe kind of like a little 5-minute mindfulness moment before going to bed, but bring an entire session is difficult with our own children. We get a mix up of being the parent and then being kind of the teacher and maybe our expectations of our own children. So definitely not with your own children. Um, you can do the pilot in a private practice, in a school setting. So even if you're not a teacher, you can contact schools and see if you can bring the program there, or in a kind of completely private context in the sense that you are not a psychologist or a GP or a speech therapist, but you want to bring the program, you can kind of rent, for example, a space and form a group like that. It could also be in a community center, for example. And then you'll be selecting children in the same age group, so either the green or the red manual. And also you'll be doing interviews with those children and parents to see whether they match, for example, a group with a 4-year-old boy and an 8-year-old girl might not be such a great match in terms of maturity levels. So you create that group unless you're obviously a teacher in school or you're an external trainer going into a school. You'll just take either an entire class if you're confident with children, and if you haven't got that experience, you take a small number of children within a class. I'm very much aware that there's a lot of information, so obviously I hope that you're pausing when it's too much and that you'll jot down your questions that you can send to us that you might have. So our training, we've talked about the success of the method, what makes our training so successful. As I mentioned a couple of times, it's really you're in the experience and that makes it very valuable and rich. It focuses not only on kind of, the method, but also, as I mentioned, really your posture as a trainer. What is it like being a mindfulness trainer in general and then specifically with children? It's accessible in the sense that if you have done the MBSR, then you are okay to join the training. There's nothing else really asked of you other than obviously this desire to work with children and an ongoing mindfulness practice. There is lots of support from the trainer during the sessions, but also outside of the sessions. There's an online platform, I think I might have mentioned that as well, where there's resources and where you can also exchange with your peers. There's a supervision session that is really, really appreciated by the participants in the training, and there is that peer group practice that is extremely valuable in preparing you for being with a group of children. And then we wanted to add some of the feedback or the evaluations that we've had from previous participants. So really that focus on the structure of the books, the manuals, and how well that is set out, which is particularly when you're starting out really reassuring. You take these books into your sessions with the children, and you can fall back on that. So it's not about learning something by heart, which can be quite challenging and daunting when you are starting out. A very supportive and caring environment is being created in the groups, which is really important because that reflects also what you're trying to create with your children, with your students, and a rich and rewarding training experience. And I think this third one here, a wonderful experience, rich both in human connection and in learning, is precious feedback as well, because obviously when we're bringing mindfulness, it's about ultimately also that human connection, the human connection to yourself, and then the connection to other people. And that's if that or once that reflects in our training, that's very pleasing to see. And again, last comment here about the human experience and how moving it is personally. That idea that maybe we are training to take this method to children, but it's also very much a personal training about our own experiences. That was in a nutshell, and I'm very well aware that this is very short and there's a lot of information. But that's in a nutshell our training and our method. You can register online on the Academy for Mindful Teaching.com, where you have found, I imagine, this video, or perhaps on social media. And there is a special offer that I've got here. It says it's a valid until Sunday. That was obviously when I did the live presentation. So I'd have to take that valid until Sunday out. But you can find on the website information about this discount code. And then for those of you who want to join me, we'll be finishing with a little frog meditation. And as you can see in the manual, kind of those things are also kind of described. I'm not actually sure whether you can see that very well. But if you're in a quiet and calm place, I'd really like to invite you to find a comfortable position and to join me in a little frog meditation, one that we'll be doing regularly in different forms with the children. So I'll be closing my eyes. I don't always do this with the children because I want to know what's going on. But for this exercise, that's okay. Hmm. So taking just a moment to find a posture that is right for you to do this five 5 to 7 minute meditation, a posture that is relaxed and at the same time kind of alert with your back straight and upright. And you're sitting maybe on a chair or a cushion, or perhaps if it feels better for you in this moment, lying down. And just taking a moment to be with that posture. You might have been sitting like this for a while. Is it possible to just really bring your attention to your back, your head, your shoulders, your legs? And as mentioned, you can close your eyes or have them focused on a point in front of you with a gentle, soft focus, and your hands can be on your legs or in your lap. Hmm. And now I'd like you to imagine that you are a frog. And you know that you're not really a frog, but you can imagine being one sitting at the edge of a pond, of a big pond. And although you are not really a frog, you have something that a frog has too. You have the ability to sit really still. And to sit still like a frog, you need two things. You need calmness and you need attention. Hmm. And paying attention stops your mind or prevents your mind from wandering here and there, and calmness can help you to sit still. calmness and attention, just like that frog sitting at the edge of the pond. And sitting still like this, your arms are still, your legs are still, your torso, your back, your head, everything is still. Your hands are still, your eyelids still, calm, and also relaxed. And when you're sitting still like this, you can notice all kinds of things. You can notice perhaps that there's still some movement in your body. Maybe your toes are slightly moving, your fingers, your eyelids are slightly fluttering. And that's perfectly okay too. The purpose of this exercise is not to not move, but is to simply notice when you are moving. Just notice and then let it be. Being calm and paying attention, just like the frog at the edge of the pond. And once you are completely still like that, you may also notice that you are breathing. Take a moment. Can you notice that you are breathing? Air coming in through your nostrils, going through your body and going out through your nostrils. Just take a time to notice it. Can you feel the air coming in? Can you feel the air coming out? And when you're noticing it, right here at your nostrils, you can bring your attention lower into your body. Place your hands on your belly and notice the movement of the breath in your belly. Can you notice that your belly is slightly rising, and when you inhale, and going down a little when you exhale? Feel it under your hands, the movement of the breath. And when you're focusing on the breath like that, you might notice that you are calm and still, like the frog at the edge of the pond. Calm and still. And perhaps at some point there's still a part of your body moving, or there are thoughts in your head, and that's perfectly normal and perfectly okay. You can just bring your attention back to the movement of the breath underneath your hands in your belly. Just stay with it a little bit longer. Perhaps you notice how good it feels to take this time to be with the breath, to notice how still and calm you are when you pay attention to the breath like this. Calm and still, and with attention. We'll stay with this just a little bit longer. And when you hear the sound of the bell, you can open your eyes again. Thank you so much for being here, for taking the time to watch this presentation, and I really hope that it makes sense to you, and that you see how valuable and precious it can be bringing this method to the children that you work with. And obviously, I love to see you in our next English training. Thank you very much.